Let's start with the high tunnel challenges. Hit me hard, let's hear it.
Oh boy.
This is our second video with high tunnel customer Emily Pek of Frayed Farm. In the last video, we discussed the challenges around starting a flower farm.
It was touch and go. It was touch and go.
In today's video, we talk about the cut flower collaborative that Emily helped start, the importance of having a cooler if you're a flower farmer, and make sure you stick around to the end of this video because we're going to take a deep dive into all of the challenges Emily's experienced growing in a high tunnel.
I've cursed the tunnel, you know.
Now, if you missed the last video with Emily Pek, don't worry. I'll link to that video and all of the videos that are part of this interview series in the description below. Before we get into the meat of this video, which starts off with us talking about the Cut Flower Collaborative, just to recap what that is, it's a collaboration among numerous small flower producers in Northeast Ohio so that they can aggregate their power and have more available for florists to purchase, and it allows them entrance into that market. So let's get into the video. You already mentioned what the Flower Collaborative is. Could you talk a little bit about more of like how that formed and how you fit into the formation of that?
The idea of the Cut Flower Collab started kind of early on in my flower career. There was like an Ohio flower farmers group. You know, it's just Ohio flower farmers gathering in the winter and kind of sharing tips and tricks. Yeah, it was like a wealth of knowledge, and I met a lot of folks there, and we kind of stayed in contact. It was like either 2019 or 2020. One of the flower farmers kind of decided to like get us all together because they had been seeing other groups in other regions kind of collaborate and aggregate their flowers. Yeah, how can we be more attractive to florists? Like, what are you growing? Like, what can I grow that florists need? How can we help each other out? Last year, we decided to really kind of go for it, and really our goal at the beginning of the year was just to communicate better amongst ourselves. But we ended up just kind of like, because there was enough momentum, like starting a website. I think my farm is centrally located to all the other flower farmers, so it just kind of worked. And also I'm one of the few people that has a cooler actually. So I kind of was just perfectly positioned to be the pickup spot, and I agreed.
How does the Cut Flower Collaborative help florists?
The Cut Flower Collab make local flowers like convenient and easy for them and allow them more variety. There's a tremendous amount of flowers that can't be shipped, so it allows them access to flowers that they might not have otherwise, and gives them like, you know, some of the best, most beautiful product, and like also be able to like share that with their clients, which, you know, I think it's a growing trend to like incorporate local flowers into their work. So yeah.
Perfect. How does the Cut Flower Collaborative help small flower farmers like you?
Florists need, like, you know, usually a large quantity. So when they're looking to buy, if they're only getting a couple stems, it's like, it's not super convenient for them to just buy a couple stems because they're going to have to get more. By us combining our efforts, it allows them choice of more stems, more variety, and how that helps flower farmers is it allows them to be in that market. Otherwise, they wouldn't really be attractive to florists because they don't have enough products. By also creating a central pickup location, the florist can even pick up a couple of stems from from a flower farmer where they might not have done that before because it would have required them to either drive out there or pay delivery. But now they can pick up everything centrally, so even folks that are just growing a few bunches of something have an opportunity to sell that.
That will help reduce some of the pressures on other revenue streams, essentially, as it grows.
It's the tightest margin, but the least amount of expenses related to it because I'm just cutting the flowers and then giving them to the florists. My passion is in farming, so I would love to continue to grow like beautiful flowers for people that can then, you know, turn them into beautiful work and share with their clients versus me having to take on two different roles. It's like really two jobs on top of one, and I, you know, love the creative aspect of it, but want to focus on the growing right now. It aggregates our marketing too. So instead of competing against each other, we're helping grow together as a group.
That makes total sense. And as I understand it, having a cooler is one of the reasons you're the central pickup location for the Fresh Cut Collaborative. As a piece of infrastructure, how important is the cooler? And then also, how much of a challenge was it getting a cooler out here?
So a cooler is like essential to being a flower farmer. Not saying you can't start out without it, because I definitely did, but being able to get the most out of your farm and keeping the flowers at the quality that you want them, you will eventually need to invest in a cooler, I think. Flowers, they're a perishable product, just like anything, but flowers especially like to stay at 37 to 40 degrees. An air conditioner or a cool room isn't really going to cut that. I mean, maybe a basement or something like that, but having the consistent cool temperatures are key to holding flowers. You can also cut flowers a lot earlier in the week and hold them over. They're still really fresh, but they, instead of because the season never cooperates with when you need it. So if a florist needs a flower on Thursday, or I need a flower for my CSA, the flower might bloom 2 days before, and then it will be too late. So it allows me to cut that flower before it's bloomed, hold it in the cooler, it stays fresh, and then I can use it. Otherwise, you're just losing tons of product. That's why a cooler is essential. Getting a cooler can be a huge, investment, and for me, I didn't even have electricity out here on the farm. At the end of the day, I realized over time, having electricity out here was definitely going to be worth it. We had to get a new pole put in, which is a bureaucratic nightmare because they work on their own schedule. This was also right when COVID hit, so they were out, a lot of people. You had to work with the pole people, the electrician. I did some of the work myself, and my family helped doing some of the electrical work. And insulation.
And that doesn't even get to the cooler. Yeah,
that didn't even get to the cooler. That's just electricity, and the electricity was for the cooler. That was, it was a glorious day. Literally the week my CSA started, we got it all together. We literally got the electricity hooked up. That was happening simultaneously while my gracious parents were building out the insulation in the cooler. Get the air conditioner, get the CoolBot going. Literally, they all kind of just converge, and it all happened the same week. And then we hadn't gotten rain in it felt like months. It was a bad, dry spring, and then it started pouring rain, and that was the day we finally click, turned it on. The air conditioner was blowing, and it was just ah!
So good.
Yeah, it was just one of those moments that, I was dancing in the rain, yes, electricity happened. Let there be light.
If you had to suggest something to people who are in the process of getting their flower farm going, and coolers in the back of their mind, and you had to give them some tips, but do you have any to share?
So I absolutely would suggest, if you're setting up a cooler, do a CoolBot and an air conditioner like that. I'm super happy that I went with that. I think that's going to be the lowest cost. It's okay if you need to get by for a couple years on a regular air conditioner or cool space in your house. It's okay. There's ways you can do it, and people shouldn't get discouraged by not having a cooler, but make it, if you can, one of the first things that you get, over a high tunnel, over anything. I think that would be probably the thing you're going to want to work toward. But yeah.
We'll cut that little bit about high tunnels out. I'm just kidding. Obviously kidding.
That would be second, No,
and again, this isn't an interview for me, about me, but I just want people to get what they want. If they don't want a high tunnel, they don't need a high tunnel. I don't care. But you do have a high tunnel. We're in a 24 by 96 right now, and there's a lot to cover, learning curves, all of that stuff. I guess before we get into all of that, what are your goals for its usage? How do you currently use the high tunnel? And then we can get deep into it.
From the get, I wrote getting a high tunnel into my my loan, my business plan from like the beginning. That was like always a priority for me because we have such a short season here in Northeast Ohio, especially where the farm is located. We're kind of in the snow belt. I knew like getting a high tunnel would help extend the season for those earlier weddings and Mother's Day, and then later on, like, you know, through October. For me, that's like the purpose that it serves, is being able to, you know, get those shoulder seasons, but also like offer like a multifunctional space. Like I didn't really have any place that people could be under shelter at the farm. I was growing all the seedlings in my house. I definitely outgrew that. Propagating like things in your own home, like when you don't have a garage, like it's not good for hardwood floors. So like having a proper like farm space that's covered, that I can start seedlings on early on, is like tremendously helpful. And I think like growing that over time is also what I'll use the high tunnel for. So
Yeah, and I know that you've only had the high tunnel about a year.
yeah.
Like, I mean,
Yeah.
you built it last year, right? Is it 2 years?
Last year I did have the tunnel the whole year, but like it wasn't, like everything in it was set up in the spring, so like I haven't had even like a full year with like using the functions that I had set up, like
Sure.
all the water, all the, you know, yeah, propagation space, like, you know, beds, all of that was built like a year ago.
I remember when we first planted in our high tunnel,
Yeah.
everything was planted like way later than you should because of day length, and so like everything grew, but it was like this big. Like the entire winter was like, learned a lot this winter, you know? Like,
Yeah.
now I get it.
That's validating. Yeah.
I mean, it's a common thing. Challenges, you know, there's tons of challenges at the farm, but let's start with the high tunnel challenges. Hit me hard, let's hear it.
Oh boy. So the challenges of the high tunnel, I think first of all, like understanding that I think you really have to like get experience growing outside of a high tunnel before you get one. Like if I had gotten a high tunnel my first year like I had hoped, I think it would have been even more of a learning curve, and I would have gotten like way more discouraged. It's also like a huge building to manage, and I think that's like really important for people to know. It does take, you know, like care, and if you take care of it, it will hopefully take care of you, and I think it does. Setting expectations, I think, is just important for folks, like to not get disappointed. Like just getting the high tunnel isn't gonna like solve all your problems. Like I had grown in high tunnels before, but only vegetables really. I think growing flowers is a lot different in tunnels. They are extremely helpful bolstering that shoulder season, but they're they're super perishable, so like they don't have like the resiliency as like a tomato plant that can kind of get like baked in the sun and then like maybe probably be okay. Flowers like need a little bit more, I think, tedious attention, and I think that's what I've been learning too.
Flowers, it does sound like they require a little bit more TLC, a little attention. How has that been growing in the tunnel but also not living at the farm? Has that added to the difficulty of high tunnel growing?
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge, and I kind of anticipated this, but the biggest challenge of operating the tunnel is like living 40 minutes away, because things can fluctuate so much, and that's like the blessing but the curse. But also like if you don't get it right, it can burn you. So I realized very quickly last year that like I was gonna need the automatic roll-up sides, and that would like save me a tremendous amount of like, you know, labor and driving back and forth, and like probably increase the health of my plants like significantly.
And reduce your stress.
Not gonna lie, you know, like it's not, you know, I've cursed the tunnel, you know, not because it's the tunnel, it's just because like it needs to be set up properly and needs to like function for what you need, and sometimes that just takes some time for you to figure out. And now that I've figured it out, I'm like super excited to be like, oh, with this little adjustment, like my plants are going to be so much better for it, and like then I'll really be able to like actualize the beauty of having a tunnel.
And the shade cloth too.
Yeah, and the shade cloth for sure. Like, yeah, I think that will be tremendous as well. Like having extra protection. And again, just like you have to learn over time, like how to make those adjustments on the microclimate, and like, again, blessing of having control, but also like if you don't have access to those things, it could be discouraging.
I mean, it gets hot in here.
Yeah, for sure.
Like hella hot.
Yeah. Well, it's just the fluctuations. Like if you have like even a 60-degree day, it can get up to like 100 degrees in here, and then like it goes back to 30 at night. That is no good. So
Flowers don't thrive in that?
no. So yeah.
Were there any missteps you made last year in the high tunnel that you learned from immensely?
So not only did I like get the high tunnel set up for the first time, but I planted like a ton of layers of carbon like heavy materials that stunted the plant's growth. So it really wasn't the tunnel that was causing the problem. I know now to, if I'm going to do that, let it sit for like a year. Time is like a very important ingredient in building like a beautiful, rich, nutrient-rich bed. Like, you know, things need time to break down. It's going to tie up the microorganisms to be breaking down and not giving nutrients to your plants, in my experience.
In the next video with Emily Pek, we specifically cover what is hardest about farming, what she loves about farming, and the difficulties of making a fair wage as a small producer. We'll have a link to the next video in this video's description, and you can also subscribe to our channel and click the bell icon to be notified when future videos are released. You can find Emily at Frayed Not Farm on Instagram at Frayed Not Farm, or at her website, fraydnotfarm.com. Thanks for watching.